Let's compare an Ultrasabers Apprentice V5 lightsaber hilt to an Ultrasabers Apprentice V4 lightsaber hilt. So one thing you'll notice right away with these hilts is the overall design is very similar. So the Apprentice V5 was released in 2018, relatively recent, and it basically uses the same overall design, the same kind of profile of the V4. It's just some of the more specific features on the hilt, like the grip section, the windows, and the emitter, that type of thing. Those design elements have been changed and kind of upgraded to look a little bit fancier. But the overall profile of the hilt you can see is very similar. So both of these hilts are about 10 inches long. The Apprentice V4 is a little bit shorter than that. They're nearly the same length, but the pommel on the V5 just makes it slightly longer. Now let's look at the top of the hilt. So one big difference right away between the V5 and V4 is the V5 actually has 2 layers of metal. So it has this inner layer of metal and an outer layer of metal. V4 only has 1, and the reason for that is the windows. So the windows in the emitter on the V5, which comes standard with the hilt, by the way, they're not an upgrade, just all of the Apprentice V5 hilts include these windows. But there's sort of this cutout section that's here, and then you have the outer layer of metal here with the windows. So the windows, there are kind of 3 in each batch, or kind of each set of windows. You have one long window in the middle with 2 smaller ones on either side of it, and this is one set here, and then you have 3 sets of 3 surrounding the entire saber hilt. So that's definitely a different feature. Now the Apprentice V4 does not include windows, but they do offer them as an upgrade. So I do have that hilt with the windows over here. So here's an Apprentice V4 with windows, and you can see that these windows are radically different. So on the V5, the windows are vertical. On the V4, the windows are horizontal. And they just kind of encircle the hilt here, whereas on the V5, you have these kind of clumps of windows, or these sets of 3 windows that surround the hilt. So that's definitely a different feature there. Let's go back to the kind of standard hilt. Move that one out of the frame. Now moving down the hilt a little below the emitter, so you can see on the V4 there's this really nice choke point, so that could be nice for spinning or dueling. Now on the V5 you kind of lose that. There's a little bit of that section, there's a little bit of a taper there, but we have these kind of windows that are in the way, so it wouldn't really be necessarily that great to grab it right here. And this kind of cutout window section too, it has a little bit of an edge to it. I mean, it's not that it's sharp, but it does seem like it could sort of catch a little bit on your skin. So be a little careful with that if you do get the V5. Of course, it looks really cool. You know, windows in the emitter always look really cool, and definitely looks more interesting than just the kind of standard V4. But yeah, that's definitely a big difference here. The choke point comes with the V4, and you know, even the V4 with the windows has the nice choke point too. But the V5, you kind of lose that. Okay, now moving a little lower to sort of the AV switch section. Well, actually, let's talk a little bit about here. This is an added kind of design flair on the V5. You can see on the V4, it's just kind of flat, but on the V5, it's sort of a continuation of the grip section above the AV switch section. And so you have these sort of 3 sections of grooves that kind of all tie together on the V5, whereas on the Apprentice V4, you really just have this one main grip section here. So the grip section is also a little bit of a different texture. So the grip section on the V5, it has these kind of alternating flat and kind of curved grooves to it. So that adds a little bit of a different texture, and it's a little bit different. Let's see if you can kind of see that. See, here's a flat section here. Here's kind of the more rounded. Here's flat again. And with the V4, it's just kind of rounded the whole way around the hilt. So moving down to the pommel now. Pommel is very different on both of these hilts. As I said before, the grooves on the V5, Apprentice V5 pommel kind of visually tie in with some of the other grooves higher on the hilt in the grip section and then above the AV switch section. On the V4, I'm going to just do a side-by-side with the pommel specifically. So the V4 has this knurled pommel, so it has the knurling texture to it, which makes it easy to kind of unscrew from the hilt. But that's just a little comparison there. So yeah, even the pommel on the V5 has changed. And you can see the hilts that I have here have the solid pommel. Now both of these hilts do offer vented pommel as well, which you would need if you were getting a sound saber. So another difference with these two hilts, you can't tell because I have two empty hilts, but the AV switch is included with an Apprentice V5 if you get a stunt saber or sound saber. Now if you get an empty hilt like this, you get a switch hole kind of either way. But with the Apprentice V4, if you get a stunt saber or sound saber, it's an upgrade to get an AV switch. So that's another difference as well. Of course, the base price for the Apprentice V5 is higher than the Apprentice V4. So I'm not sure how much money you actually save with these kind of bonus included features, but you know, they're kind of cool. So that's probably most of what I have to say about comparing these two lightsaber hilts, you guys. What do you think about the V5 versus the V4? Which of these hilts do you like better? How do you even compare the change? So you have the change of the windows in the emitter between the V4 hilt and the V5 hilt, and just different things like the grip section, everything else we mentioned in this video. Feel free to comment below.